Next, we move on to the chapter Common Human Diseases. Before going in detail to the human diseases, let us learn a few definitions from this chapter. The first definition is regarding disease. So, disease is any deviation from the normal structure and function of any part of the body. So, disease refers to any deviation or change from the normal structure and function of any part of the body. Next term is pathogen. Pathogens are the disease-causing organisms. These include virus, bacteria, protozoa, helminths, fungus, etc. Next term, vector. Vectors are the agents that transfer the germ from an infected person to a healthy person, and these mainly include houseflies and mosquitoes. Next term is incubation period. The incubation period of a particular disease refers to the time gap from the entry of the pathogen into the body of the organism till the appearance of the first symptoms. So, the time interval between the entry of pathogen into the organism's body and the appearance of the first symptoms we call as incubation period. Now, moving on to the categories of diseases. There are three categories of diseases. The first one is communicable disease or infectious diseases. Second one, non-communicable diseases. And third category is genetic diseases. In this chapter, mainly we are dealing with the first two, that is communicable diseases, and the second one, non-communicable diseases. First, let us move on with the communicable diseases in humans, and the first category is diseases caused by the pathogen, that is bacteria. And the first example in that is typhoid. So, typhoid is a type of enteric fever. Enteric fever in the sense that it affects the intestinal portion mainly. So, typhoid is an enteric fever and it affects the intestine. Now, what is the causative agent or the pathogen which spreads typhoid or which causes typhoid? That is Salmonella typhi. And the Salmonella typhi lives in human feces. So, how does this Salmonella typhi spread or how it is transmitted? That is mainly by food and water which is contaminated by the flies. Now, moving on to the symptoms of the disease. Since it is a type of fever, one main symptom is sustained high fever, and the temperature may range from 39 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. And the fever rises on the 5th day and after. Second symptom include headache. Third is abdominal pain. Since it affects the intestinal portion, one symptom is abdominal pain. Then constipation, which may be followed by diarrhea. We know constipation is a difficulty in the removal of feces because of more water absorption in the large intestine portion. But the diarrhea, this refers to the removal of watery bowels. Now, prevention or treatment. The first is immunization, that is taking this immunization or vaccination in order to avoid the infection from the particular pathogen. This next one is testing the specimen of blood, urine as well as feces. And when we refer to the test with regard to blood, we call it as Widal test. Moving on to the next disease under the category of bacterial diseases, that is pneumonia. We know this mainly affects our lungs. And what happens in this case of pneumonia is that the alveoli are the structural and functional units of the lungs, where the gaseous exchange happens. That is, the oxygen and carbon dioxide are being exchanged in the alveolus or the alveolar sacs. So, in patients suffering from pneumonia, the alveolar sacs get filled up with fluid as well as dead white blood cells, thereby reducing the alveolar space inside the that is the space inside the lungs is being decreased. So, that is what is happening in pneumonia. So, pneumonia refers to the inflammation of the lungs. Here the alveolar sac fills up with the fluid and the dead white blood cells reducing the amount of air space inside the lungs. Now the causative agent is a type of bacterium belonging to the family Coccus. They are actually spherical shaped bacteria. So the causative agent of pneumonia is Streptococcus pneumoniae. Streptococcus pneumoniae. And how the spread occurs. So since it is affecting our lungs, mainly inhaling the droplets which is released as a result of coughing by the infected person can spread the disease. Other way of transmission is sharing glasses and utensils which are used by an infected person. Next, moving on to the symptoms. Symptoms include persistent dry cough because it affects the respiratory system. Coughing is one of the major symptom of this particular disease. Then high fever associated with rapid rate of breathing. So the breathing rate is very fast in case of person suffering from pneumonia, and it is also accompanied by high fever. And the spit of the person may contain small amounts of blood, that is reddish streaks of blood may be present along with the spit. Now coming to the prevention or treatment of pneumonia, prescribing antibiotics is one method. The other one is taking rest in bed and drinking enough fluids. Then the last one is chest x-rays can be taken.